Are you worried that as you grow up, you're not going to have time for your art or your passion or your side projects? Well, stick around because I'm going to walk you through some things that you can do to help make sure that you still schedule in time for your art. And number one is just have an understanding of what you need and have an accessible space. When it's time for you to come into doing your art, you're not stressed or sidetracked by getting all of the things together. You want to make it readily accessible, and part of how we do that is by asking ourselves some very, very key questions, such as what time do I feel the best and what time do I feel the most stressed? So for example, if you're most stressed when you're coming home from work, well, that's important to know, because how you relate to the stress and how that stress relates to your art or your craft will depend on whether or not when you're stressed is a good time for you to try to schedule in for your hobby. So if getting ready, say you're a little bit insecure about your painting, if getting ready for the painting makes you a little bit stressed, well then you don't want to schedule it right when you get home from work because you're already stressed and you add more stress. Well, your brain wants to move you away from what's causing you the stress. You'll probably procrastinate on the very thing that you love most simply because you're stressed. So at the end of work is not the best time for you to schedule your art. You want to schedule your art or your craft when you're least stressed, if it causes you stress. And so you need to answer those questions and figure out how art and the rest of your day relate to each other in terms of stress. If working on your art causes you some stress or some insecurity, then you want to place it at a time of day where you're least stressed, whether that's morning, evening, it's up to you. If it helps relieve stress, well then you might want to place it during time of day where you're most stressed, as long as it doesn't conflict with your current obligations. And you also want to think about how it makes you feel. So perhaps if you've been able to track your emotions throughout the day, and if there's a slump, then perhaps there's an opening there for you to slide that art in and sort of bring your mood up. Again, as long as it doesn't conflict with your obligations. And you also need to think about, when do I get into the zone, or what do I need to get into the zone? This goes back to creating, an ideal environment so that's easy for you to get into that flow state. You want to really think about, what do I need? My paintbrush is here, and this here, and that. You want to make sure that you can easily get into that zone where you're just one with the canvas or the music or the guitar or whatever it is that your art is. And the next thing is, what existing routines can I incorporate this into? So can you incorporate it into your morning routine? So instead of having a cup of coffee while you watch Netflix, can you enjoy a cup of coffee while you draw on the canvas? That's very subjective to you as a person, but you want to think about that. What routines can I incorporate this into? And so I'm just going through my notes, and then you want to think about, okay, what can I eliminate? Does Netflix actually make me happy, or is it just something I do because I'm used to it? You want to ask yourself these questions and eliminate things. Can I batch my meals so that I don't have to spend as much time cooking? Maybe you make 3 days worth of food at once. That could be a lot better. Also, you can attach it to things. We're talking about attaching it to other things, such as, your morning coffee time, or your devotions, or journaling. Maybe you journal and then you start painting immediately after, and then that concludes your morning routine and you're ready to go to work. It's up to you. And you also want to think about, when can I sneak it in? When can I create extra little windows of 10, 20 minutes? Because honestly, sometimes it's better than none. Sometimes we think that I need an hour or 2 hours to do real art, and that's partially true. You want to get into that flow state where your mind is optimally creative, but when push comes to shove, 10 minutes is better than none. And that's where we want to get into this last thing that I promised. Tying it all in together is letting go of perfection. If you want it to be perfect, chances are you're not going to achieve that, and you're not going to be able to work your art because you can't find the perfect time. You can't find the perfect routine. That goes back to what I just said. 10 minutes is better than 0 minutes. And so when creating this new routine and scheduling in time, you want to think, let go of perfection. Do I have 20 minutes here or 30 minutes here? Can I string these two together somehow so I can at least get something done and feel like I'm progressing? It might not be perfect, but something is better than nothing. And if you're a single parent or a high school student, or you're getting a new job, or if you're a college student, sometimes you're so stressed and so busy You have to accept something rather than nothing. And I think taking those little steps to get that would be really, really good for your mental health in the long term, because after 4, maybe 5 or 6 months, you could look back and say, hey, I did something. It's not perfect, but at least I took 10 minutes a day or 10, 20 minutes every other day. You still have something to show for your passion, and that'll pay you massive dividends for your mental health later on. And if you want to learn more things about what you should do before you turn 18, check out this video right here. There's a lot of things that you really, really need to do to make transitioning into adulthood and keeping your art alive easier. Check that video out right here. I hope to see you there. Goodbye.